Hey guys, welcome to part two of What is Love? So today we're going to jump back into the conversation I was having with my husband Rob on 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter in the Bible, and we're going to wrap it up today. So I appreciate you being here. I hope that last week you had fun with us, and this week there's more of the same. We're going to dive into good ways that you can honor your spouse and truly love each other according to the way the Bible says it should be done. And so we're picking back up with Love is Not Rude. And I'm so glad you're with us today. Okay. It is not rude. And this is where I was saying like it considers other people. So it's like a restating of it is patient, it is kind, it's considerate. Love is considerate. And so this is another one that you see in the movies and whatnot, but he really does offer me his jacket. And I'm talking about it's really cold and like he needs his jacket because it's cold, but maybe the jacket I brought just isn't cutting it. He never has hesitated to say, why don't you just take my jacket? And things like that. You do a really good job of considering me and my needs.
I think a lot of that, it's so funny because there's one a little further. It says love always protects. And I can tell you there, like I love, it is, I do love you and I want you to have my jacket. But there's a certain part of me is like, I'm going to sit here without my jacket while my wife's wearing my jacket. Like there's a.
Wait, are you saying love? It's proud.
Yeah, no, there might be some pride in there too, unfortunately. But no, a man wants to protect their house. There's a certain feeling you have as a man protecting your family. And I mean, maybe it is pride. But I think we're wired for it. I mean, I think we're not wired to be prideful, but we're wired to take that seriously and be ready to go. And so I get just as much out of it as you do when I do that.
Yeah.
It's because I feel it. It's protecting. I'm protecting you, and I'm wired to do that. And it wasn't always like that. I wanted to protect my family, and of course you want to protect your family. Like if something happens to your kids, of course you're going to step in. But it was really more of it's my duty to go step in and do this. I take on the responsibility. Now that I've had a walk with Jesus, and again, I understand spiritual warfare more, I'm like, let's go. Like, I come from a place where I know the result. I know that I have Jesus. And so, go ahead, devil, tell me how cold I'm going to be when I give you my jacket. Go ahead. Bring it on. Let's go. Because I know that, I have him, and there's no fear when Jesus is behind you.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things I have a hard time with. Like, I didn't have anything of love is not rude. You're not rude. I mean, and just the thing, so I go through this whole list of love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy. And quite frankly, you do all of them. And it's like you do the whole list. Now, you're not perfect.
No.
And so
I am not perfect.
There are times where you're not patient, sure.
Yeah.
But you model patience. Like, you're not a rude person. You're just not. You're not rude to me. You're not rude to your kids. You're not rude to people around you. You're just not a rude person. And so, it's hard for me to come up with an example because it's just yes.
Okay. So funny. Okay. The next one is it is not self-seeking, right? So you put the other first. And that's actually where I had that example about Mia taking me at a Bible study the other day. You're just not self-seeking. You weren't like, well, I got to get work done. And, you did have to get work done and you had things to do and you had to shift some things in your day to do it. And there is a cost to that. But I know that you're not at home stewing in resentment because, I had to go to Bible study. And if you couldn't have done it, you would have communicated in a way that was, man, I'd really love to help you. But today I have this meeting and whatever, and I can't do it today. So we'll have to do another way. Like, I just really love that. You are not self-seeking. You oftentimes will do things like that. So I love that.
I think it goes hand in hand with couple of steps below it. Love keeps no record of wrongs. I think that self-seeking and that record of wrongs, they go hand in hand.
They do.
And I think, unfortunately, we as human beings, we tend to be very transactional with our love. And I'm gonna do this for you, and then I'm gonna expect this back. And when I don't get it back, I'm gonna record that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use that the next time I do something so I can try to get that thing again.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, that's just the epitome of self-seeking. I
Yeah.
mean, what your motives behind serving one another, it's not, it's not transactional. If you ever have the expectation that you're going to get something out of it, it's not love.
Yeah.
That's not loving.
Might be duty, but it's not loving. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
We
like,
do joke a lot about the spreadsheet. We always talk about, well, that's going on the spreadsheet. And so, but that's the beauty, I think, of what we have is there really isn't a spreadsheet. I don't think either one of us hold record of wrongs very much. I think we joke about the spreadsheet, but we don't really keep those.
Well, here's the beautiful thing about the grace of the Lord. If I do think of something like, oh, that really got me, like the next day I've forgotten about it already.
That's probably just old age as well.
That's it.
That's our minds
That's probably
slipping.
true.
It's our minds
So
slipping.
even
Also the grace.
if there is something I was like, yeah, I wish that would have worked out differently. It's forgotten.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember it.
Yeah.
So
That's good. Okay, so on from it is not self-seeking to it is not easily angered. And I put kind of on the side like slow to anger, long-suffering, easygoing. And I do know you've said that you're kind of an easygoing person anyway. But one example I had of this that you're not easily angered, I mean, I could think of 75,000 because that always hasn't been my experience to be in close relationship with someone that is not easily angered. And so I know what it's like to walk on eggshells and to feel like everything I do is wrong. Everything I do is the wrong thing. If I should just do this another way and this another way and all the things. And so I remember I had just as a realtor, I put a lot of miles on my cars. And so I had just traded in one of my cars for a Telluride, which I loved. It was great. Loved that little Telluride. But it was brand new. I mean, like brand new. And I don't remember. I think it was we were on the way to church or something. I was so tired. I hadn't gotten good sleep. So I was exhausted. And this is not an example of me being loving, but I just wanted to drive my own car. I didn't want to have Rob drive. And so I was like, no, I'll do it. I'll drive. But I pulled into the garage. And our garage is too narrow. Like it's just a very narrow garage, no matter what size car you drive, pulling in and pulling out of it. You have to be really careful not to hit your mirrors on the side. And so I was tired and we were in a hurry. We were running late. And so I was kind of grumpy and I didn't want him to drive. He offered to drive. And I said, no. And I get out there and I'm in such a hurry. I back out. And I mean, like, I just took the whole side mirror off of my brand new car. I mean, it's just, oh, it was maddening. I was so furious with myself. I was just frustrated over the whole situation. And in that, like, you never once said or did something to me that was like, well, now we got to pay for this mirror. You know, like you didn't give me any grief about it, even though even in it, like my heart was not in a great spot. Like I was being selfish. I want to drive and da da da. And then I took the mirror off the car, and it's like, oh God. But you never got mad about it. Like you weren't
well,
mad.
that's not going to help the situation. I mean, I would be disingenuous if there wasn't a little part of me that said,
Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices.
well, unfortunately, I'm a human being. The human Rob went,
Well, you didn't say it out loud.
but no, I didn't, because that's not going to help the situation.
And you didn't get angry.
That's not going to fix anything
with me, and I appreciate
and
that.
That's the thing. And actually, I think you treat me this way too. I know nobody's going to beat you up more in that situation than you are.
Yeah.
And I think you know the same thing for me too.
Yeah.
You treat me in a way like when I've screwed up, that enemy and just going bah, 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 bah.
Mm.
And so like you don't need to make me feel it more.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be our own worst critic.
Yes, that's true.
So I mean, you're going to be angry enough at yourself. I don't need to be angry with you.
Yeah. I think that's important just kind of in context of what we're talking about with love. Like, if you find yourself when your partner does something that is really stupid, preventable, avoidable, whatever, and it's going to cost money. Like a lot of times when stuff like that comes up,
the reason we get angry is not because we're really angry about the thing, but it's like maybe we're in fear of where the money's going to come from to take care of it, or just there. It could even be even more than that, like the fear of what does this say about me as a person that I just did something so stupid, right? Because we don't like to do things that are stupid. And I think a lot of times in relationships, when your partner gets mad at you over doing something stupid, it just brings more shame. All it does is it's like you're making agreements then with the devil. Like you go, yeah, I am stupid. I am all these things. And so I don't know. I guess my encouragement in that is just, the next time you find yourself becoming angry with your partner about something, especially if it was an accident, like there are things that happen that are intentional and, it's sinned against you. And so you do have a right to feel anger, right? And there's something to resolve there. But a lot of the times we get mad about stupid little stuff, and maybe it's just an accident. It's not something that was intentional. And so offering each other grace in that and not a bunch of anger, it really is vital, I think, for...
Well, and I think even you mentioned like being sinned against and being angry about that. I think you got to still be careful, even in that type of situation. Now, I'm not saying don't have boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, I think back to, again, me being in recovery. I wish it was a straight path, that I knew Jesus and I got in recovery and I never slipped. But I did have, you experienced a slip with me in that. And I know you were angry.
Oh, yeah.
And you were, I sinned against you. We're married now, and here I go, and I do this, I do the slip. You didn't act out in anger, though. You set a boundary. You said, Rob, that if you do this again, you don't bother coming out.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful. I love you. And I'm in this with you, and I'm never going to leave you. But if you do this again, don't come home. And to me, that's a loving. You've hurt me. Here's how I'm going to keep you from hurting me in the future. But I'm still here with you. I still love you. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think you got to be very careful. You have to act in that. We're allowed to be angry, but we're not allowed to sin in anger.
Right.
And I believe that's what you treated me. You were angry, you were hurt, but you did not sin in anger. And speaking from my experience, it was such a healthy way to deal, for me to continue to deal with my recovery. And that changed everything for me. Like the first moment that I took Jesus changed a lot, and then have that slip, and what I learned out of that is really just put my recovery on hyperdrive at that point. But unfortunately, I feel like I had to go through that. Yeah. But you were there, and you were loving, and you were angry.
Yes, I was. I was angry. There's a lot of that I know that went back to just I spent a lot of time with the Lord over it, because I was pretty mad. I had a lot of fear in all of it too. There was a lot of fear. What have I done? Now I'm married a third time, and is this not going to work out? Is this going to be where I have to do something extensive to protect my children and your children? Even at that point, that was another part of it, was now we have 8 kids that we're responsible for. And if he goes off the deep end, I'm not going to just abandon his children. Like, we had full custody. There were so many things in that whole deal that I really had to take to the Lord. And part of that, didn't look pretty. It was a lot of tears. It was banging on things. Like there was a lot of stuff, but that was my space with the Lord, to just go and work out how angry I was, and then ask God, what is my way forward? Because I know God's heart is always going to be reconciliation, but you're right when you say the boundaries were there, because you can't have reconciliation if behavior doesn't change. It takes both people working at it. And so thankfully we were both working at it, and you did go to a lot more meetings. I think that was part of it too. Just, you got to go to a lot more meetings, and you got to, and thankfully you put a lot of that on yourself. I didn't even really have to say a lot of things.
No.
I think because of your first stint in recovery, it was so good and freeing for you. And then your relationship with Jesus, I think it was easier for us to be on the same page about what moving forward looked like. But yeah, that was hard stuff. Hard stuff.
I think that moment like covers like 8 different things on this list. It feels like it's patient, keeps no record of wrongs, it trusts. I mean, there's so many things in that.
Yeah. And then always protects. I already talked about that a little bit. You know, that you're just protective of our family. And there's been extreme situations there. There was a situation where somebody came very angry to our house and they forced their way into the house. And in that situation, you know, the kids and I were there, and you didn't hesitate to go and take care of the situation, not in an aggressive, macho kind of terrible way, but just I'm going to take care of this and I'm going to remove the threat. And so that's a way. I mean, you've physically protected us. And I remember, you know, Jude at that point, that was back when we were only dating. And I remember Jude watched you, and one of the things he said was like, well, what are we going to do? Because you were living in Florida at that time and you had just come for a visit. And he's like, well, what happens if he's not here? And so I just think that was a way that you modeled before the whole family, how you will protect us and that you won't let us come to harm. And I think that was the hardest time I ever sent you back on the plane. That is true.
That was funny.
There was a lot funny about that. The situation itself was not funny, but there was a lot that happened around it that was funny. But I know, yeah, I drove you to the airport, and then I literally had to pull off as I'm exiting the airport, I was crying so hard I had to pull off into a abandoned building, I don't know, whatever, over there, and just bawled my face off. And
So I got to tell this part of the story behind that, though.
okay.
So all this happens where he comes in the house, and you know we deal with that and everything else, and then we have, you know, there was just a lot of dialogue around, a lot of healing that we were able to have and stuff like that. And so Christy at that moment says, "I don't think this could have gone any better."
The visit. It was his first.
The visit.
That was his first visit to Texas to come meet my kids and to like just.
And I was like, well, I got to fight in your living room, so I think it could have gone better.
Maybe something could have been better, but yeah, we did. We laughed about that a lot. This couldn't have gone any better. Yeah, I was definitely focused on with the kids and how much they appreciated him. But yeah, it could have gone better for sure. Okay, so you take the next one. I don't.
So, like, love rejoices in the truth. And so, like, I mean, obviously that you lean towards you're going to tell the truth to each other all the time.
Thank goodness, because this is called Get Honest.
Yeah.
So if we were big liars, this would be terrible.
But to me, when I read that, it's not just telling truth to each other. It rejoices in the truth. Therefore, we act in the truth.
Yeah.
And we act following God's word at all times. We're always pursuing God. Mm-hmm. And you are the most prime example in my life of somebody that's always pursuing the truth and seeking the truth. I mean, I equate you with David, like a woman after God's own heart. You're just always after him, and you convict me to always be after him in that way. And man, it's just such a gift to be in a relationship where both people not only are telling each other the truth, they're
Right.
trying to understand the truth, constantly pursuing him. And to be able to do that together with somebody, like, to watch you in that. I mean, you're the person on this earth most responsible for my relationship with Jesus. I understand that's my relationship with Jesus, and I, you know, like, it's he and I, but you speak so many things over me, and just even watching you, Like, that's the first, and honestly, that's the first verse I thought of in this whole love is patient, love is kind. It was the first love rejoices with the truth, and it's because of that. Like, I'm humbled by you in that respect. And it's just such a gift to me.
Yeah, it's very encouraging, sweetheart.
So,
Gosh.
what I just told you, that leads me into the love always trusts. And sure, we trust each other.
Yeah.
But the first trust is in Jesus.
Right.
We together always trust Jesus. And I think this only works with a couple that's equally yoked.
Yeah.
But I don't have to, even though I do, I don't have to trust Christy the person. I just have to trust Jesus. Like, I always, and I put my trust in him that he sees everything and he knows everything that goes on in a relationship. And he wants us to have the most awesome marriage in the history of marriages.
Right.
He wants those things for us. And
Because marriage is a picture.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. He wanted marriage to be the picture of Christ and the church. And yeah, where he loves and serves and she respects and honors. And there's a fidelity there and there's all the things. So marriage is a representation. It's supposed to be a representation of his love to the church and then the church's honor and respect of him.
yeah.
So
And that just leads me to be able to trust you. Like, I know I know your walk with the Lord, and I trust your walk with the Lord. So even when I see something that didn't feel very loving.
yeah, I think you're right that we do have to trust Jesus. But there is an element of trust, obviously person to person, because it's marriage and, you want to trust that your partner is going to be faithful to you. You want to trust that your partner has your best intentions. And that's something that I think it's really beautiful about your family taught you and that you really brought into our marriage was the benefit of the doubt.
For sure.
And so there are times when, he may say something or I may say something and on the surface it doesn't look very good. It just doesn't look very loving in whatever way. But that benefit of the doubt, always giving the other person the benefit of the doubt, that may just look like, okay, this is what I heard you say. Is that what you mean to say? Is that what you really mean? This is what I heard when you said that. Is that what you really mean? And that was a brilliant way to really foster trust in our relationship. Because, sometimes everybody's going to say something that they don't mean. Sometimes they're going to say something in a not very loving place. There's no person on the earth that doesn't every now and then say something that they wish they hadn't said. But in that, giving the benefit of the doubt, there was an extension of grace there that is, okay, this is what I just heard you say. It's hurtful and offensive. Is that really what you meant? And it gives you kind of a moment to go, oh, no, it really isn't what I meant, or I didn't mean to hurt you. But yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, no, and I think that what that comes from also is that I just trust your walk with the Lord. Yeah. So if I see something that isn't in line with your character, it entirely might just be my perception. But it's not necessarily you did something, but you also do stuff that's not in line with your character. We all do.
Yeah.
And so if I see something that's not in line with your character, I know that you're going to work it out with the Lord. Yeah. I know you're going to seek the truth. That's what we talked about, just always walking, always pursuing the truth, always pursuing the Lord. I know that you're going to do that. And I hope you feel that way about me when something comes, if I do something that's not in line with my character, then I'm going to seek him out and get full understanding of that.
No, and I think we do a good job of giving each other the leeway in that, because I know for sure I can think of times that I've come to you and said, hey, this certain thing is really not cool, and I know that after that you always said, I'll think about that. I'll consider what you've said. And instead of rushing to be defensive, typically, for the most part, you say, okay, I'm going to take what you said. I'm going to need a little while to chew on it. And then what you said earlier is we do typically give each other the space to kind of go work that thing out. But I know for sure that's something being able to have, it's that communication, being able to communicate back and forth. And when we're angry, with each other, we don't give each other the cold shoulder typically. There have been times that we've done that.
They're pretty short lived.
But we both want that connection. We both want to restore. And so most of the time, this separation is planned on purpose for the purpose of getting back together, coming together on something instead of being separate. Yeah, I think.
We'll also do hey, I'm still working through this, but I don't want to be separate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, and there were some muddy parts. This is so, we didn't talk about this earlier, but when we first started dating, this was before we got married. We just had 8 kids, and we were dating. We're trying to navigate all this stuff. And so Rob said, what would you think about going to counseling? And I was like, gosh, I've had great experiences in counseling and I've had terrible experiences in counseling, particularly in marriage counseling. And we weren't married yet. And so I was like, I'm for it. I don't think it could hurt. But we were kind of in that goo goo gaga stage of love too, where we were just crazy about each other. We hadn't hurt each other we really hadn't hurt each other in any way in all of our history, and even though we'd only been talking for a few months at that point, we'd had, history over a 35-year period where we had never really hurt each other tremendously. We'd done a few things that were arrogant and stupid, but we hadn't really wounded each other terribly. Sure. But so we go to the counselor. We actually met with a counselor, and it was one of the best things I think we could have done. But we had gone a lot of times. Like we were going, what were we going, once a month, or were we going once every week every 2 weeks? Okay. We were going every 2 weeks. And we just show up and we were just all goofy for each other and we were just crazy about each other. So we were sitting there just, whatever, talking with the counselor. And the counselor actually got to a point where he said, do you need to see me? Like, do you, are you sure you guys want to, happy to sit here and have you pay me for my time, but I don't know that y'all really need anything. And so, but that was the foundation for our trust with him and building more trust with each other and just having those open lines of communication and talking with one another, talking through things. And then when we had custody of all the children, we moved everybody in, we got married, and we had all the kids in one place. Man, all hell broke loose on some things. Literally, there was just a lot going on. And with the same couple, we show up in that counselor's office. And I think he was like, oh, man, this is some stuff here. But we already had the baseline, and he really helped us navigate. Anyway, that was just a really good. So anybody out there, especially if you're going to blend a family, I would say before you get married or early on in your marriage, or heck, if you've been married for 5 years and you're just kind of middle of the madness right now, go find somebody to talk to. We went and saw Dr. Michael Russell in College Station, Texas, and that was amazing. But I would say, there are so many resources, so many good counselors that really help people navigate their issues. And that was foundational for us to have had. We had a safe space to go with a third party that could look into our mess and help us, knowing who we were when we weren't on edge, when things weren't hard. He was able to know more about us and how to deal with us and how to speak to things. And so that was really foundational. Oh, and so part of what I was thinking about was just, we were going through some stuff, and we were going to a counselor, and sometimes that would stir it up and everything. But we're both very physical touch kind of people. We're words of encouragement and physical touch. And so when you're fighting, the last thing you want to do is snuggle up, and you really probably don't have, you kind of hold your words because you don't have a lot of encouraging things to say when you're really in the middle of an argument. And so one of the things that was really good, and sometimes you were good about it and sometimes you weren't. Sometimes I was good about it and sometimes I wasn't. But when we would get in bed at night, we would try to touch each other, like be close to each other. Because if you just turn your back and you scoot further away, it literally is creating a space of separation. But it also, because of the way our love languages are, it was pulling our hearts further away. So we ended up having conversations that were like, I know I'm really angry with you, but I would still like for you to put your arm around me. I would still like you to pull me close. And just even in that, it was remembering, you're not the enemy, I'm not the enemy. We're angry with each other, but we're on the same team. We're going in the same direction. And I think that was vital. I think that was really vital for us.
It was, for sure.
Yeah. Always hopes and always perseveres. I think we've been talking about the years that we've had to really, there was some persevering
Yeah.
we needed to do. Anything you want to speak to about the rest of that?
I mean, it always, like, to me, when I read those, it's the ability to have, well, love always perseveres, is that's just one of the just gifts of marriage. It's hard to persevere by yourself. It's so much easier to persevere when you have a marriage that you can lean into, where it's both of you lifting each other up. And it's, that literal overdone analogy of the three ropes, the three cords making a rope that's
Yeah,
can't
not
be
easily broken.
And but I mean, obviously it's a well-used analogy for a reason, because it's actual truth.
And it's rooted in scripture.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it is. Maybe Proverbs, but it says a cord
Yeah.
of three cannot be easily broken. Yeah.
So, but man, that perseverance, honestly, I haven't really feel like I'm persevering at all since we've been back together in our marriage. There's not been a perseverance piece of it. And I think it's because the Lord makes it easy in a marriage like that. I mean, it's just, you're lifting each other up, you're pointing each other to God, and that's not perseverance to me. That's just...
Well, I think what I think of it, I'm thinking of the times when we did have to persevere through the challenges that were coming in our blended family. I think there were some serious things that happened that threatened to pull us apart from each other, and even, was a lot pulling us apart from each other, maybe a little about, not walking as strongly in our faith. So I feel like during those, I just feel like during that time, we definitely had to persevere. It wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy.
There were times when I know personally, I can say, I wanted to just throw my hands up and say,
Yeah, no, for sure, you feel that way. But I knew that was just a feeling. You know what I mean? Like, I knew that's a fleeting thought. That's a feeling. And feelings are guides. But, as our pastor says, they make terrible gods. And so we can't listen. We can't make decisions out of that feeling. We have to recognize that feeling for what it is. Where is that coming from?
right.
And why do I feel that way? Well, quite frankly, I felt that way too. And I felt that way because I felt inadequate. I felt like, I felt like I wasn't doing something. Honestly, I felt like, and that kind of was rooted into probably a whole other subject we could talk about, is like seeking your approval. Like, I was just wanting your approval and stuff instead of just acting the way that I knew what was right.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I felt like that, but it was never even at that point where it didn't feel heavy. Like, it wasn't weighing me down. It wasn't like I don't feel like it was driving my decisions. I was able to step outside and say, we have a wonderful marriage. We have a wonderful relationship. We're going through something really, really hard that, quite frankly, breaks a lot of marriages. And so why do I feel like throwing my hands up? Where does that come from?
Yeah.
And so, and getting into the root of that. And that gets me into, Rob loves himself an attaboy. He just does. and so, I talked about how much your words of encouragement mean to me. And I have to I probably, not as much anymore, but even then I struggled that was probably more of an idol for me than it was just an encouragement.
I do remember that was something, and you were the one that discovered kind of the root of it. Like, it was rooted in, you were seeking approval from me. It was approval seeking. And if I didn't, what that did was it put an expectation on me to respond a certain way to anything he said or did. And if I didn't respond exactly the way he wanted me to, he felt, again, like he just said, inadequate. He felt like, so he was letting me define, really, he's putting it on me to define who he was, his identity. And man, that caused more fights, I think, than just about anything. Because, I want to respond in a truthful way, and I'm not gonna, I can say, and this probably is rooted in pride and different things inside of me, but like, if I don't, I'm not going to say something disingenuous. If I ever say to you, I'm sorry, I really mean it. I'm sorry. Like, I don't just give out sorries because that's the right thing to say. I give out the I'm sorry when I really mean I'm sorry. And sometimes that can be really bad because, you know, in communication, if you're miscommunicating, if somebody says, you made me feel this way, and I know my intention wasn't to make them feel that way, then I'm sorry you got your feelings hurt, you know, like it's so bad, but that's really the truth. But in this situation, I was under this weight of expectation and I couldn't meet the expectation. And even in that, I know because there were times when I would even tell you really what you wanted to hear, but you weren't receiving it. It was just never enough. It was like, no matter how much I said the positive thing, it wasn't enough. And I felt like literally I just said that 3 times. I just thanked you for that 3 times and it wasn't enough. And so we fought a lot because I just kept thinking, you know, what do you want me to do? Come and, you know, grovel at your feet? Or like, what does that look like? What does that really look like? But I mean, there was an awful lot going on. And you were new in your faith, and there was a lot going on. We had a lot.
There was a lot.
We were navigating. And so, I don't know, kind of what, help me understand, like, how you came to that. Because, I mean, it really did change everything. I really can say, I can point to that change, and I can go, that was a huge shift in our moving forward, our communication, our understanding of one another, everything changed after that.
You know, I don't know that I can tell you, like, it was this, you know, it was this moment. It was a gradual. I know, because first of all, I know when I said, hey, I think I'm just approval seeking, like, I saw the light bulb go off on your head.
Yeah.
And so, but even then, there was, you know, I mean, I didn't really have my identity in the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably most of it where it came from. Is like, I still, you know, like I believed, I trusted him, and luckily, like my experience with the Lord, I had full heart knowledge before I'd studied any head knowledge at all, ever. So I've never had a moment where I don't fully 100% trust in the Lord, where I have to question what he says, because I felt the healing hand of Jesus from the start of my relationship.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I wish I had more head knowledge. You know, I wish I would probably help fill in a lot more gaps, and I could be a lot more succinct in talking about my faith. But that's such a gift for me. I mean, when I look at it, it's such a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at so many Christians that struggle, like, hey, I read this is who you are, but that's not my experience. And they struggle. There's a miss there. I don't, you know, luckily, he told me, he showed me who he was right from the start. And so I think in that, there's always a trust there, but I didn't have an identity yet. Like, I didn't understand who I was. Yeah. And that just took spiritual maturity, really, just continue to learn who God tells me who I am.
Yeah.
And,
you know, I'm thinking about it, that might have actually come during part of that time where we were seeing Dr. Russell separately. So for a while we were going together, and then it came a time when things were really, really rough, and we would see him separately and together. And I don't know if that, I'm not sure, but I wonder if it was in some of those sessions, because he was such a good mentor.
He was. Is.
Yeah. In those places about how to be a gentle, authoritative man. I don't know how to say it any differently, but like a man who knows who he is with confidence, but also doesn't have to be abrasive to show it. So, yeah. And I know for sure during that time, I really had to work on a lot of things, a lot of insecurities within my own heart too, because what happens in moments like that, we're both coming from a place of fear.
For sure.
And especially from our past failures, things like that, it was really speaking more identity to us. So we both, even though I was rooted in the Word, I knew God for a long, long time, I was still in that same space of having to work out my identity and not coming into our marriage with that false identity. But that, I mean, I really learned a lot more about identity really within the last 5 years. I mean, you know, I've always said, you know, my identity's in Christ, but those are just words until you really know what that, you know, what Christ calls you, what name Christ has given you,
Yeah,
who
for sure.
you are to him. And so I think I just was still wrapped up in a lot of fears. So
Yeah, and I don't think I could have told you back then during that moment, hey, I don't know who my identity is with Christ.
no, yeah,
I mean, I could say that now, looking back,
right,
100%. I could see that's where I was struggling, but you know, it's I didn't know what that looked. I had no idea what that was.
yeah,
At that point in time,
yeah,
and so I could tell you at that point in time, I did have full trust in the Lord, though.
yes,
And I learned what I did know at that point in time is I was doing something. There was something I was doing that isn't based in truth. That's probably where it started. Is I got to a point where I said, "What, Lord, I know you can do anything through me. What am I not doing?" And I think that's where the enlightenment probably started.
Yeah.
And that's usually always. I mean, that's always. I say usually. That's always my walk with Him.
yeah,
You know, when I'm feeling something, it's because I'm trying to control it, or I'm not doing something, or you know, that it's never a lack of trust in the Lord. Where's Rob getting in the way?
yeah.
And so,
I'm glad you brought up the control thing because that's something that you and I we haven't tried to control one another. I think.
yeah, good luck.
Wait, which way? You controlling me or
I'm
me
not gonna
controlling
be
you?
specific.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we haven't really tried to control one another. We've given each other, you know, but I was a very codependent person before you. I mean, really codependent person. I think you also were codependent. So two people coming into a marriage that are very codependent, I think that's probably where a lot of our struggles came from. Yours looking for approval seeking, me looking for, are you going to stick around? Like, are you not just going to reject me and walk away? And then when you act in these ways, it makes me feel like you're rejecting me and you're going to walk away. I just think whenever people are in relationship and there's a lot going on that is being driven by fear and insecurities, we both had to wrestle our own demons to get to that place. And thankfully we had Dr. Russell to do that with, and we weren't, you know, no matter how bad it got, we weren't trying to hurt the other one. We did hurt each other a lot in those early years, but we were never trying to hurt one another because we'd both been hurt so much. We were really to a place where that was the gift, was we just wanted kindness. We wanted somebody to be gentle with us. And so we wanted to offer that. And when we couldn't offer that, we offered silence, not normally in a cold
Yeah.
shoulder kind of way, but just more of a, man, I really got to get some space, or I'm going to say what's on my mind, and what's on my mind is not sanctified.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You know, it's interesting because obviously this is our marriage. We started our marriage in our 40s. There's some wisdom there. There's a gift of wisdom in that.
Yeah.
That, like, understanding that fear and anger, those are, you know, I'm just going to say they're not from the Lord now that I'm in this place that I'm in my life now. But in my, you know, earlier I would just say those are secondary emotions. And so, like, if I'm feeling these things, I know it's not from the Lord.
Yeah.
I know the Lord wants us to be married.
Right.
I know the Lord wants us to be parents to our 8 children.
Yeah.
I know He wants those things. So why am I full of fear and anger?
Yeah.
And what's the root of that? And I think you do an excellent job of that as well. That's a blessing of having a late marriage.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah, there's some wisdom in that I don't think I would have had in my 20s.
Yeah. And that's true. That's the thing. I know that some of you that are probably listening to this have, you know, you've grown up with your spouse. Like, you got married when you were in your early 20s or whatever. I mean, I was 19 in my first marriage. And I mean, when you're in a marriage that early, you really are growing up with your spouse. You still have all of the hurts from your family, you know, your family of origin. You've got all the stuff that you're bringing into that space, and you yet don't even have a fully developed frontal lobe to deal with it. And especially if you're trying to deal with it without faith, without a fully developed frontal lobe. Like, it's just so much. And so there are woundings that happen a lot of times in those marriages. Somebody that's been married 20, 25 years, and they're still like considering, am I going to stay in this marriage? So if that's you and you're out there and you're like, I've been married for 23 years, but I'm not sure that tomorrow I'm not walking out. One thing I want to encourage you to do is, like I said, you said it is a gift that we got together when we were 40, and we had some wisdom, and we had some life experience, but starting over with the spouse you're currently married to, and it's really hard. It is really hard to undo the hurts. I mean, in the early years of our marriage, we did hurt each other a lot, not intentionally, but we did. There was a lot of hurt there. There were words spoken that weren't uplifting by any stretch. And I think we had the gift of the pause to kind of figure it out. And it wasn't, in a 20-year marriage, I know there's probably years upon years of just hurting one another. But there's such a gift in growing up together too, because you know each other in a way that nobody else in your life knows you. And so you can take all of the parts of that person that you know from when y'all were young, all the things that made you fall in love with them and be attracted to them. And if you can see past your hurt to separate that out, and then do the hard work of finding, because if you've been in a marriage 23 years outside of abuse, okay, so I'm not talking about where there's abuse, physical, emotional, and spiritual abuse, verbal even abuse. If you're just kind of just not sure you're into it anymore, I can tell you there's a way to revive that through communication and by inviting somebody else to help you sort fact from fiction and where your fear and your identity or lack thereof is contributing to the pulling apart of that marriage. Because I know there are times in our marriage now, because I know my identity way better, because you know your identity way better, we don't even hurt each other the same way. I mean, it's just not even close. But when we were stumbling around trying to find our identity in each other or trying to get our identity from each other, it was really hard. And so I would just challenge you, if you're in a place in your marriage and it's really struggling, again, outside of abuse, because I know we've both been in abusive situations in marriage where there was no reconciliation possible because of all of the stuff that was being done and said. But if outside of that abuse, if it's just all the little things that have gotten on your nerves over the last 20 whatever years, I would really encourage you to just go before the Lord and get some help figuring out your actual identity. Like, what does the Lord call you? Who are you to God? And get settled in that. Because if you aren't settled in that, you're going to have a lot of trauma in your marriage. I mean, you just are. There's no way not to. And I know even with all of our good intentions and years of experience and wisdom, when we were looking to each other to define identity, it was devastating. Yeah. Yeah. So I think to wrap up, I've just been looking over all my notes and things. And one of the greatest gifts that you've given me in our marriage is the gift to just be free to be me. I don't have to pretend to be somebody else. I can just be who I am. And even though it's not perfect, you don't have some expectation that I'm going to turn into somebody else. You just receive me where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I say this in prayer a lot. And I thank the Lord for you that you're not perfect, but I know He made you for me. I feel it in every piece of me that this is the Lord just said she's for you. And that's, it's easy to love from that standpoint. I mean, it's just overwhelmed with gratitude. And man, I wouldn't have drawn up how I got here.
Nope.
Like that would have been my plan, but the Lord knows everything.
Yeah.
And so He's good.
He is good. Yeah. I think it's just really good to give each other space to be who we really are, and then lots of gratitude for all the ways. I could tell you that too. That has helped. And you're really good with gratitude. I don't know if you've always been really good with gratitude, but since I've known you, you've been really good with gratitude. And part of that may come from the program or from things like that. But just having eyes to be able to go, man, these are things that I'm really grateful for. That's a beautiful gift in a marriage.
Definitely the biggest tool in my toolbox, for sure.
Yeah, really good. Well, thanks for coming and being here with me today, hon. I know.
Love you.
I love you too. I know you're here with me all the time, but to be here in this space and share it with me, it means a lot.
It's been cool.
It's been fun. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys have had fun watching us. We are silly but genuine, and we're just, I don't know, we're still in process in so many ways, but I'm just so thankful. I'm thankful to be doing this with you.
Me too. I love
Yeah.
you.
All right. So there you have it, guys. This is what we say love is. It's the true things. It's not just flowers and words. It's actions and intention. Really.
Amen.
Yeah, you don't get into this love is patient, love is kind without a lot of intention and then actions that follow that up, and prayer, and tons of prayer time with God. So we love y'all. Thank you for being with us today. And if you've got someone in your life that is making you feel valued and special, that's great. It's beautiful. But if you don't, this may be a great time to sit before the Lord and just ask him who you are and all the beautiful things that he sees about you, because when he created you, he did it on purpose and with intention. And so when he knit you together in your mother's womb, he did that exactly like he wanted to. If you have somebody, that's great. Make them feel loved, receive love from them. But if you are not in a relationship right now and your heart's kind of maybe even broken or sore or hardened or wherever it is, and you feel like, you know what, I just may not even ever find love. I may not find someone, and you're kind of in that space, just seek the Lord in it, and he will meet you there. And he's going to love you better than any human could ever love you. I mean, that's the truth. I know as much as I love you, and as much as I know you love me, you'll never love me the way that God loves me. And I'll never love you the way that God loves you. It's just impossible. Mm-hmm. And so I just want you to be encouraged that, yeah, maybe the Lord does have a person to bring to you, to have a forever relationship with. But in the meantime, while you don't have that, spend the time with the Lord investing in finding out who you are to him, because that's going to change everything about your relationship, that the next relationship you get into. So anyway, love y'all. Thanks for being here with us today. We'll see you next week.